So because of the recent pandemic, it seems like it's been a while since people have gone to the cinemas and saw a big blockbuster Hollywood movie on screen. That is, until recently. Godzilla vs. Kong seems to have reintroduced everyone to the ritual of sitting in a dark room with a group of strangers to transmit video audio signals into the brain. And while it seems like most people enjoyed the movie, I think the movie is absolutely mid, so hopefully you guys stick around and hear me out. And I know I'm kind of late to the party with Godzilla vs. Kong, but I've had the script written for a while, and uni work screwed me over. So yeah, I should stop procrastinating with uni work, so it gives me more time for YouTube videos. Before I talk about my little lizard vs. monkey movie, I should probably explain my history with Godzilla and King Kong. So firstly, King Kong. Yeah, I got nothing. His original movie is iconic, but I could not care less. I got this cool dinosaur toy though, which I think is based on the Percy Jackson movie. I don't know though, cause I haven't seen the movie, but it has this cool feature where the dinosaur can vor the little human figures. Godzilla, on the other hand, I've barely had any history with until recently. I mean, back when I was 13, I watched the 1998 American Godzilla movie because it was airing on TV. It was bad, I remember hating it, and I never touched Godzilla again. But I saw the Godzilla vs. Kong trailer and I just got super hyped. At first I was just gonna watch the MonsterVerse movies, but my friend somehow mind broke me into watching around like 20 Godzilla movies, one every 2 days. I never want to do that ever again in my life. A lot of the movies are pretty samey, but I did come out of the marathon liking the two MonsterVerse Godzilla movies and the King Kong one, so I was definitely excited to see the ultimate final battle. And as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail and the introduction, I came out of the movie thinking, wow, that was super mid. Now, it seems like the general consensus for Godzilla vs. Kong is that it was a pretty good monster movie. You came to see Godzilla and Kong fight, and that's what you get. Humans shouldn't be important, you shouldn't have expected more, therefore you must like it. And I'm here to say, no, you're objectively wrong. Also, spoiler warning. Just a side note, I'm not saying that you can't like Godzilla vs. Kong, you 100% can. When I say you're objectively wrong, I'm actually talking to a small group of people who act like you have to like the film just because it delivers exactly what's in the title. And I'm just seeing people make fun of like these critics who I think are completely in the right to not like the movie as much as everyone, or I guess as much as the general audience did. Anyways, let's not delay the video any further, let's head straight into it. Okay, so I consider myself to be at least of average intelligence, so when I watch a film, I expect it to respect my intelligence. Godzilla 2014, King of the Monsters, and Kong Skull Island all did that. They had pretty straightforward and logical stories, and were written in ways where I didn't notice any plot holes, and they set up and wrapped up storylines quite nicely. Guess what Godzilla vs. Kong does? Completely the opposite. In the beginning of the movie, after the opening credits, Godzilla goes to attack this research facility owned by a company named Apex. Why? Well, I don't know. Obviously the movie tells us that Apex is building Mechagodzilla to use in combat against Godzilla, and Godzilla no likey. But Mechagodzilla is all the way in Hong Kong, and the Apex facility that Godzilla attacked isn't in Hong Kong. So, we still don't really know why he attacked that facility. Fortunately, the movie shows us that Mechagodzilla's eye is actually being kept in the current facility. But you know, why would Godzilla hunt down a mechanical eye that probably isn't actually dangerous, like it's just an eyeball, when he could be going after the rest of the Mechagodzilla body, which is in Hong Kong, which is psychically linked to the head of Godzilla's arch nemesis, King Ghidorah. But Godzilla will do that at the end of the movie. He can go after the eyeball first. So great, at least there's a reason Godzilla attacks. Oh wait, he completely leaves the eyeball at the Apex facility. He doesn't destroy it. The scene just ends and it implies that the eyeball was moved to Hong Kong. Fantastic work there, Godzilla. Really keeping nature in balance there. Previous MonsterVerse movies have also set up this rivalry between Godzilla and Kong because their species historically had a war between each other. That's really cool. I'm really intrigued.
We believe that they have an ancient rivalry. The myths say that their ancestors fought each other in a great war.
So if they meet again, who bows to who? Is that it?
Now, I spent 10 years on that island studying him. I know this for sure. Kong bows to no one.
No, it's just used as a throwaway line to give Godzilla a reason to hunt down Kong. Funny thing is, Kong doesn't even want to fight Godzilla. This entire movie is just Godzilla being racist, apparently. Now, this wasn't mentioned in the movie at all, but in the novelization of the movie, the Titanus Kong species became way too European and started enslaving other titans, so a younger Godzilla, accompanied by the rest of the Titanus Gojira species, fought against the Kongs. Okay, that sounds pretty racist out of context. And I guess all the Titanus Kongs and Gojiras were wiped out, excluding Godzilla and this movie's Kong and his parents, who were safe on Skull Island. That was thousands of years ago. The war is over, no one is enslaving anyone, yet Godzilla still wants to beat up Kong just because he's the big monkey species. So yes, Godzilla is racist, and there was a lot more to the war backstory, but they glanced over it. You know what else they glanced over? How Skull Island had been engulfed by an endless storm. And this isn't just like a cool little world-building Easter egg. Bro, this is an important plot point that defines this little girl and Kong's relationship. So Kong is being kept in this containment facility, and at first you don't know why. Best assumption is that they want to study him, so they created this enclosed habitat that feels like the outside world. So he can stay in a smaller location to be studied, but the idea is so fundamentally flawed. Like, Kong would obviously discover something is wrong within a day because he's so big. And the flaws do start to show in the movie as they start to stress out about keeping Kong there. And some people actually came out of the movie thinking that the enclosure was keeping Kong from Godzilla, but no. It was actually Skull Island that had the magical ability to hide Kong's presence from Godzilla. But the true reason they're keeping Kong contained is because of the storm that you keep seeing. Obviously, the first assumption is that the storm is there just to look cool, but like half an hour into the movie later, they quickly explain the storm killed the little girl's tribe and Kong saved her. This isn't elaborated on any further. They literally speak about it like it's common knowledge, but to the audience, they just found out about it. Now, let's get on to my biggest gripe about the plot. There are no stakes. Humanity is not in danger. Godzilla is specifically attacking Mechagodzilla and failing, so the humans stupidly think that they need Kong to lead them to an energy source that can help them stop Godzilla, so they take Kong off the island and puts him in danger because Godzilla holds a petty grudge. The only stakes are that Kong is in danger because Monarch, the organization that's meant to be researching the Titans, don't want to figure out the obvious, yet the audience is fully aware of the obvious because there are a group of characters who actively want to find the truth. I feel like this is where the movie fails again. We have the life of Kong be the stakes, I guess, but because they wanted to advertise the film in a way where you either pick between hashtag Team Godzilla or hashtag Team Kong, the movie doesn't fully position you to believe Godzilla is the antagonist, unlike a movie such as Captain America Civil War. But it's also not aided by a very clever moral dilemma where both sides could be right compared to a movie like Captain America Civil War.
Okay, that's enough.
So, the characters were butchered. You have Kyle Chandler's character, who was barely in the film, just there to argue with his daughter. He was an important part of King of the Monsters, but I guess we just brush him aside and make him close-minded now, thinking Godzilla is evil. Okay, cool. Then we have Kyle Chandler's daughter, played by Millie Bobby Brown, and she had barely any character in King of the Monsters. She was more so just caught up between the two divorced parents' bickering, but in this movie, she's literally an annoying conspiracy theorist. And oh my god, it's so weird hearing Millie Bobby Brown speak a lot and having this major role. I've only seen her in Stranger Things and King of the Monsters, where she barely speaks, so I expect her to play shy and quiet type of characters. Then we have the funny New Zealand kid who's there just to supply a van. That's literally it. I mean, I guess he was also there to make the stupid decision to try and crack the password of a highly advanced computer just to lengthen the Mechagodzilla fight before he pours the alcohol down the computer. Which Millie could have done, really. Oh. And on the topic of alcohol, you have the conspiracy podcast dude named Bernie, who is a little more useful because he works for Apex, so he has knowledge of their company. But the most useful thing he does is carry this bottle of whiskey around with him. But the whiskey isn't even integrated naturally in the story. It's literally shoved in there so they can pour it into the computer later. I can imagine the writers sitting in their empty writing room saying, "Hey, so I was thinking that the New Zealand boy could pour some whiskey down the computer. Oh, that's an interesting idea, Terry, but how are they going to find some whiskey in a high-tech mech construction facility?" The conspiracy theorist will have it with him. "Okay, but why? How about his dead wife gives it to him?" That's not very believable. And he keeps it in his gun holster. "That's brilliant, Terry. Let me just go insert that into the cafe scene." You don't want an arc centered around the dead wife? I was thinking she could have been killed by Ghidorah in King of the Monsters. Nah, that's too extra. The fans hate human conflict. So Millie BB, as I shall call her from now, New Zealand Kid, and Bernie form this little group. They infiltrate the Apex facility, but they never actually do anything that affects the plot and instead make stupid decisions. They straight up do not add anything of worth to this movie. And the one thing they actually do makes the movie worse. So here's a list of stupid decisions or poorly written plot points that center around the trio. Millie BB is so dedicated to find Bernie that she walks around a Chinatown asking around a bunch of shops if they know anyone who buys all the bleach, because apparently the guy showers with bleach!
I need my bleach in bulk! Because spy dust is real, people! I mean, come on, invisible to the naked eye!
That's how we find him.
The New Zealand Kid also makes fun of Bernie because Bernie is clearly crazy, and Millie BB just keeps hitting him for that. And I just hate how the more crazy person has more control. It just makes her so unlikable in the movie despite her being one of the good guys. And this isn't an arc. She doesn't become better at the end of the movie. She is right the entire movie. Also, on their search in Chinatown, they find the shop that Bernie buys bleach from, and the shop owner, for whatever miraculous reason, knows his address. These mother duckers run headfirst into a technically advanced research facility. They walk into a very empty, dark room. Like, why would you walk into this? I swear to God, even the sillier, more nonsensical Japanese Godzilla movies made more sense than this. These guys decide to just pop out a hole in front of a glass door that has enemies behind it. Like, you can tell me all my other points are nitpicks, but this is just the pinnacle of stupidity. So yeah, those three, bad and unnecessary. They're supposed to be the comedy reliefs as well, but the funniest joke in the movie isn't even performed by them. It's actually performed by Nathan, who's a Hollow Earth researcher, and is trying to get the energy source I mentioned earlier. So what's the funniest joke that's told in the whole movie? Well, Nathan tells the little deaf girl that she's very brave, but he uses the sign language for coward instead. Even then, I feel like they set up the joke in the poorest way. The girl uses the sign language earlier in the movie to call Nathan a coward, and the girl's adopted mum tells Nathan that it meant brave. Then when Nathan leaves the room, the mum calls him a coward too? Why is he a coward? My man is risking his life to go to Hollow Earth in an untested flying thingy. Is it because he's a little intimidated by Kong? Because that's normal. So either Nathan is some home dog, and he's brave as hell, and they wrote in the coward thing just to poorly set up the joke, or the girl and the mum are just assholes. Yeah, anyways, the little girl is literally the best character in the movie. She has this wholesome friendship with Kong, which really drives the plot. See? I was able to give one compliment. And when the little girl is introduced, there's this really cool scene where they have a close-up of her ear and the audio kind of gets muffled to communicate that she's deaf, and I thought that was a really cool way to communicate it to us without telling us. In fact, it was so effective that I thought I was going deaf in the cinema. So moving on to the mom, I'm pretty neutral about her, except for that one scene where they try to convince Kong to go into the Hollow Earth, and she asks the girl to tell Kong that more of his species could be down there. The girl asks if it could be Kong's family that's also down there, and the mom says that she doesn't know. But like, it was clearly established in Kong Skull Island that Kong's parents are dead on Skull Island. Their corpses are there. Unless Kong would magically recognize Uncle Kong Jr., I don't think family is gonna be found down there. So why not just go with a hard no? Why do you gotta lie to my boy Kong like that? Frowny face. I actually put a frowny face in the script. They also make it apparent that Kong is the last of his kind in these movies as well, so if there was a possibility that there was more Titanus Kong out there, why would you deem him the last of his species when you know there's a whole world of Titans that have been left unexplored? Okay, now moving on to the villains. This man is just there to build Mechagodzilla and die. This girl is hot and decides to shoot Kong for absolutely no reason. She died in the movie. This is the son of Dr. Serizawa, and he's played by Shun Oguri, the live-action actor for Lupin in that terrible movie. Let's go! Okay, but seriously? This character is the son of one of the most important characters in the Monsterverse, and he gets no character development or exploration. He has like 3 or 4 lines in the entire movie and then dies. Mechagodzilla also gains sentience because of the energy source they pulled out of Hollow Earth, so I guess he's also his own character as well. But there's no logic behind how this happens. I guess there are 2 options here. Either the energy source makes Mechagodzilla evil, or Mechagodzilla being evil has something to do with King Ghidorah's head being linked to it, but they don't mention that. It's only a theory. Also, where's the villain from King of the Monsters, because he's shown to actually acquire King Ghidorah's head? This movie just doesn't do the previous movies justice. Even if you don't care about the story, the fact that it's a sequel to a pre-existing story means that it should probably live up to it rather than ignore it and make the story disposable. And if you want to make a disposable story to focus more on the monster fighting, please, just make it decent at least. Godzilla vs. Kong is straight up awful. Shin Godzilla could pull off not having any really memorable characters without me thinking, wow, this plot is stupid, or wow, these characters are stupid. So there's no reason for Godzilla vs. Kong to not do the same. People seem to really love the fight scenes in Godzilla vs. Kong, and for some reason, the fighting being good is an excuse for the bad plot and poor writing to be overlooked. But the thing is, I don't like the fights either. Sure, the fight scenes are more clearer compared to the other Monsterverse movies, so you can see more of the fight, but that doesn't automatically make it better. So I'm gonna go over all the fight scenes. Fight scene 1, the water battle. This fight scene isn't bad, but it's not special either. It serves its purpose in the plot, but I didn't come out of it thinking, wow, that was epic. I have to watch it again when it inevitably gets uploaded to YouTube. Kong is very clearly at a disadvantage here, and it's more of a struggle to survive rather than a who will win kind of fight. The water just makes things worse since it slows down the movements of the Titans, and a significant portion of the fight is just Kong trying to break free. Again, it's not a bad fight, it's just there to serve the plot and show that Godzilla is a force to be reckoned with, and so from a storytelling perspective it is pretty good, but from just a pure monster fighting, dumb action kind of perspective, it's pretty boring. But the reason they get out of the fight literally makes no sense. The humans suggest that cutting power to all the boats would make it look like everyone is dead, so Godzilla would leave them alone, except Godzilla was trying to kill Kong and Kong was still alive, so I have no idea why Godzilla would leave just because the humans were dead. Most people seem to defend this scene by saying that the humans are dead, so no one is there to help Kong. Therefore, Godzilla just leaves. But there are 2 reasons why this doesn't work. Firstly, the villain leaving the hero to die is a very terrible plot point in general, and is just lazy writing. Secondly, Godzilla is an animal, so it's weird to see him think like that. A highly intelligent animal, sure, but still an animal nonetheless. There's a reason why Toho made it a mandate for Godzilla not to emote in any of the Monsterverse movies. I also heard the script was heavily rewritten, but a lot of plot points stayed the same, so there's probably better context behind Godzilla leaving Kong without killing him, but because they tried to simplify the plot down, the context just isn't there anymore. Fight scene 2, Kong versus this flying snake thing. I don't know why this fight is here. It's really short, and when Kong finishes off the snake thing, it's all off screen. So yeah, it's not very entertaining. Also bad blood effects. Fight scene 3. The second round between Godzilla and Kong. This fight is kinda the opposite of the water fight. While the water fight slowed down the Titans to the point where I felt bored, this fight is just way too fast. The Titans are so agile and quick for creatures their size. This is one of the reasons why I actually think the human point of view is important, because the monsters can be big and slow, but the humans balance this out by running for their lives, making the scenes more fast-paced and tense. Moving on, the editing in this fight is terrible. In this last frame here, Godzilla is clearly under Kong's arm and facing away from Kong, but in the first frame, after the cut, he's turned 90 degrees to the left, is significantly away from Kong, and there's even a building between them. Here, we last see Godzilla laying on the floor, but then somehow he gets off the floor and in a pretty comfortable standing position too, without the audience ever noticing. Oh look, Godzilla hit Kong into a building and suddenly the next shot is this? Here Kong falls, then it cuts to another angle of him falling, and while some films like to show multiple angles of one action, I'm pretty sure that wasn't the intent here. Even if it was, it doesn't work well at all. The rule of 3 is important. If you want to do something like that, show it at least 3 times or have the clip much longer. Otherwise it's just a jarring cut. Okay, I just noticed this while editing, but it's not Kong hitting the ground and the movie showing you twice. It's actually Kong hitting the Ferris wheel and then hitting the ground afterwards. It's just the way that the movie is cut, it's a little jarring. I still think it's badly edited, but I've given the wrong type of criticism here. I left this part of the video in because I refer back to it later in the video, but if I were to give this specific scene some criticism, I'd say cut the scene a little earlier before he hits the Ferris wheel or after he lands, just for it to be smoother. Here, Godzilla pushes Kong into the water. Kong is barely on screen, so there's already quite the big negative, but you can also tell that he's pretty close to Godzilla, and he hasn't landed in the water yet, but the next frame is him being significantly farther away, and the water makes it look like he slid all the way there before he gets launched upwards. This scene though, of Kong running around the city trying to dodge Godzilla's atomic breath is pretty cool. It works because Kong, while being a titan, is still a big monkey, so he should be somewhat agile while the big heavy Godzilla stays in place more. And this scene where the humans fly through the fight is also fantastic, but unfortunately moments like these are just too far and in between. The next scene, while cool, has Kong being too agile, and he's doing all these cool poses which just don't work in a big kaiju movie. But here's the worst part. Kong blocks Godzilla's atomic breath with his axe, then raises the axe so he's open to be hit, but Godzilla literally just locks onto the axe for no reason whatsoever. Wow guys, look, this is a cool scene for the trailer! This fight is bad. There are too many editing mistakes, which I can't even understand how they got there in the first place because it's all CGI. And while they all seem small individually, they appear enough where it was really distracting me from the movie. Like, I wasn't 100% sure why I didn't like the fight scenes, but I knew something was off and there was just, the flow wasn't right, and it's probably because of all these poor editing decisions. Well, moving on to Fight 4, the deciding battle. So, this is what is implied to be the third round between Godzilla and Kong, and that itself is actually a mistake that ruins the fight scene. Because it's in the same location, so realistically it's the same fight as before, but it's just made out to be a new round. And while that would make sense if all the rounds were in that location, the implied first round is the ship battle. But you know what, whatever, it doesn't really matter too much. It's gotta be this exciting fight, right? With lots of music, and you're gonna be at the edge of your seat wondering who will win. Well... there are no continuity errors? Yeah, that's the best I can give this fight. This fight is so short, it's nothing. The fight begins in Kong's favor before switching to Godzilla's, and ending around after 1 minute. This is everything before Godzilla steps on Kong, by the way. I count the end of the fight as when Godzilla steps on Kong, because at that point Kong can't get up and it's just them roaring at each other. And I refuse to believe Kong is defeated after being scratched and stepped on when he can survive a fall like this. And then he dies, not because he was fatally injured, but because his heart was slowing down. And they easily save him by just giving him a good old shock of electricity. Fight Scene 5 versus Mechagodzilla. Again, this fight makes the same mistakes I complained about before. Continuity errors like how this building that the camera is in for this shot isn't in the previous shot. There's a replay scene here. In this scene, Nathan is flying the ship above Kong and he runs off the ship, so it cuts to Kong, then it cuts back to Nathan, who is already on the ground. This is super jarring. I'm also pretty sure Mechagodzilla is wrongly angled here. It should be more like this, but instead of fixing the reflection, they just changed up the position of the two characters in the next shot. Godzilla is looking up, and now he's looking straight on and holding Mechagodzilla's hand. What happened here? I do think this fight is a lot better though than all of the others because the power dynamic is constantly shifting, so it's actually exciting to watch, but I hate that Godzilla and Kong beat Mechagodzilla because the conspiracy trio poured alcohol into the computers. I mainly hate this because these characters are pretty unimportant and mostly unlikable, but also the logic doesn't make sense. Getting water into a computer is really bad, and the computer literally explodes, yet Mechagodzilla glitches for a split second before it's fully operational again. I'm just getting a lot of mixed signals here. The computer explodes, therefore Mechagodzilla should be dead, but he's only temporarily distracted. And after that, Godzilla could have just shot Mechagodzilla in the head. I don't know why he had to charge up Kong's axe other than the plot needing it so they can have this epic team-up moment. And also, I'd honestly just rather see Godzilla and Kong overpower Mechagodzilla by themselves. If you want humans actually getting involved in the battles, at least have them like in a spaceship or a mech so they can fight alongside Godzilla and Kong. Because, you know, it's supposed to be an action movie. We're seeing dumb, stupid big monsters fight, so I want the resolution to be the stupid big monsters fighting, not some kids pouring alcohol into a computer. So yeah, moral of the story, this movie is complete doggy doo-doo. It has unlikable characters, plot points that are just there to justify later scenes in the movie, crazy, illogical, and unbelievable decisions characters make to justify later scenes in the movie, plot holes, poor continuity during fight scenes, and they completely disrespected any returning characters. It genuinely perplexes me how this movie gets so much praise, because everyone throws away the fact that the film needs to be good. Oh, and it doesn't need to take itself seriously? Then that affects the impact the fights have because I'm not supposed to care. Just because it's a fight between two monsters, the film can get away with not having a well-done build-up to the fight, apparently. The story basically told me that the fight was unimportant, humanity wasn't in danger, so I didn't need to see anyone win, and they tried to go for a hashtag Team Godzilla versus hashtag Team Kong thing in the advertising, but Kong is kind of positioned to be the protagonist, while Godzilla is the antagonist, but because you need to be able to root for him, they tried to put him in this poorly done gray area, where he's just an asshole racist to serve as the antagonist, while also trying to stop Mechagodzilla so you can root for him. But apparently the poorly edited fight scenes were enough to give this film a 91% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. And that's pretty upsetting to me because Warner Brothers is going to look at that and they're going to be like, wow, this is the direction that Godzilla needs to be headed, so if they actually do end up making more Godzilla movies in the future, instead of seeing what they did wrong with the first two movies and trying to improve, they're just going to take away what failed instead of trying to fix it. So future movies may end up similar to Godzilla vs. Kong, with no real depth or cohesive story, and I don't want that. I genuinely enjoyed the first two MonsterVerse Godzilla films, and if the audience didn't like them that much, whatever, that's fine. I can also see that these movies have weaknesses to them and they have room to improve. But Godzilla vs. Kong is not an improvement, it's a downgrade. They just removed what people said didn't work. But the things that didn't work in the previous films weren't objectively bad things, they were just poorly executed. They need to find better ways of executing those things, not getting rid of them. Because I'm watching a 1.5 hour long movie, so I need something to keep me engaged. If you want a full on just monster fight, just dumb fun, no humans, put like a 10-minute short on YouTube, please. But when I have to sit there for 1.5 hours, I want something that's engaging. It doesn't need to be intellectual, it doesn't need to be deep, it just needs to be cohesive and interesting, that's it. And they tried that with King of the Monsters and Godzilla 2014. While it wasn't that engaging with the human stories, it was a spectacle. It was a spectacle from beginning to end. Even if it didn't show Godzilla that much, it was still interesting to see. And Kong Skull Island was just a lighthearted, fun comedy. And again, it wasn't the deepest story, it wasn't the most interesting, but it was funny, it was charming, it had a cohesive plot, I didn't question any logic in the movie, I just watched it and had a good time. But that's not how I felt with Godzilla vs. Kong. I felt the characters were annoying, it was unfunny, the plot didn't make sense, and the fighting was off to me. So yeah, if you watched up until this point in the video, thank you so much. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Hopefully I'll be able to upload to my channel a lot more often because I'm just terrible with time management right now. So hopefully I get my university work kind of managed so I can have time to do stuff like this. So I'll be seeing you guys in the next video, which will come out hopefully within the next 2 weeks.